The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program hosts and guests and are not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time for Martin County Movers and Shakers. And now, here's your host.
Well, happy St. Patty's, everyone. I hope that you are wearing a touch of green with our social distancing. I don't know how much pinching is going on, but I mean, rules apply in tradition. That's just a thing. Anna Valencia Tillery, your happy hostess with the mostest. And, you know, it's still a lot to be grateful for and thankful for in the midst of the sensitivity out there presently. I certainly can understand the cautionary measures. And as a result, we are shedding some light on some things that are happening here locally and things that impact the enjoyment in our life that, let's face it, arts and culture is a big component of what makes our lives feel fulfilled and what makes the Treasure Coast and in particular Martin County so special. I do want to quickly thank White Glove Moving Storage and Delivery, who underwrites this program each and every week, for their ongoing support. And just to update our listeners accordingly, transactions are still happening. You know, there has been regulations out there in regards to a number of social settings and events and the like. However, folks are still purchasing homes, and those things that were already slated are feasibly going through. And so at White Glove Moving Storage and Delivery, we have taken a number of precautions in conjunction with the mandates put out by the CDC to ensure the safety of our employees, of our customers, and in fact, the end client if we are working directly with the interior design firm or ownership of a large commercial property. So with that being said, just know that until further notice, we are operating. If you do have something coming up and you are interested in obtaining some pricing or looking down the road at getting something on the books, just know that we are happy to oblige. We are taking all of the precautions that we can. And in addition, extending our deep discounts of winter rates now through the end of April. So just doing our part and helping in these sensitive times so that things can have some sort of semblance of normalcy when you had something on the calendar as big as a new home purchase, or, you know, the exciting potential grand unveiling of a assisted living facility or a hotel, something along those lines. Though there might be some delays, there's still an opportunity for us to help with the receiving, the inventory, and the ultimate installation. So I do want to talk about other exciting things and ways that we can still incorporate art into our daily lives while kids are out of school and while we're trying to think of fun things to do. So here in the studio, we have Nancy Terrell. She's a dear friend of our program. She's our leading lady over at the Martin Arts Council, and we have come off of just some incredible events that you all had so much work in store to do and make a huge success. Arts Fest this year, I think, could not have been more epic. It's like you ordered up perfect weather, Nancy.
It was fabulous. The weather was perfect. I mean, everything just came together in such a magnificent way this year.
It did.
We couldn't have been happier.
The turnout was great. And, you know, I love how it's spread out throughout the park. So at no point does it feel like it's just this onslaught of people coming in. I mean, though thousands of people come through, it's just really nice and spread out and at a nice slow and steady pace that people can stroll and meander. There's not this like bottlenecking that makes people feel like they have to just hurry up, get in and get out.
This year, more than any other, I heard people saying, what a great site layout. You know,
Yeah.
I think there were things to discover along the way. There were lots of great artists. And then you'd see, you know, the Florida aerialists working on their
good. They were
ribbons.
incredible.
And then you'd see Wildlife Hospital with their animals. And then you'd see more artists. And then you'd see, you know, so it was just a beautiful path of discovery the whole weekend.
Well said. It really was. And so hats off to you and your team, because that is a huge
you.
undertaking each and every year, in addition to celebrating your anniversary.
That's right. We have our 40th anniversary this year. And so the week before Arts Fest, we had a 40th anniversary gala, the Carnaval de Martin, and it was phenomenal, over the top. I can't think of an event I've been to, and it was my event, so I'm not really being,
Well, she might be a bit biased.
but
Yeah, that's okay.
but it was phenomenal. The fully immersive entertainment experience, I mean, it really met the people who, our volunteers who came together, our chair and the volunteer committee who had this vision. The vision really came to life. It was phenomenal.
Well done. Well done. And I mean, it's a good thing that the trip to Italy didn't necessarily pan out at this
Yeah.
point.
Well, and now, I mean, we rebooted and said we'll stay in the US. We're planning to go to Chicago in July at this point, but that could also change depending on what happens
Sure.
along the next couple of weeks, months.
Updates to be coming. Yes.
Events to be coming. And there's just so much happening all the time. I mean, I really encourage people, if you've got tickets for something, whether it be, down in West Palm Beach, up in Vero, or here in Stewart, check people's websites, check their Facebook pages. Things are being decided at the last minute. So as much as everybody wants to keep arts and culture in your life right now, and it's important, it's also, it will do you good to double check that things are still scheduled, because things are getting canceled left and right, unfortunately. But there are new opportunities.
Yeah. Well, let's delve into some of those.
I've been seeing all kinds of stuff coming up where musicians and other kinds of movies and performances, this arts and culture that we go for, people are taking up live streaming and bringing it to us in our homes. So, it's not live, but it's almost live. So I
Right.
encourage you to seek some fun stuff out that's happening that would never have happened without this crisis.
So true. I saw where they had made an announcement as to the generosity of Disney, despite them having to close down the actual theme parks themselves. They were streaming some of their top movies that were just kind of coming out of theaters preemptively, so that these sweet tykes and kids could be able to view them from home and so forth. So you just know that right now there has to be tens of thousands of kids streaming Frozen 2 from home at zero charge. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the arts help people cope with what's
It really
going on.
does.
They help you just manage that stress that you're under. I've been doing some reading about the different crises in our world's history and all that. It was 2 days after the 9/11 attacks, Broadway theaters reopened in a sign that even with this enormous tragedy, that life in the arts would continue. And even in World War II, in London during the German Blitz, nightclubs and theaters were reopened in spite of the air raid sirens. So, this is something that keeps us together.
Yeah.
Even if we're being asked to social distance, the arts are a key part of keeping everybody sane and healthy.
That's great that you were able to look up some of those glimpses back into the past to see how it was able to reunite us as a nation. And I've been following closely some of the announcements from our president's administration. And they're really trying to put this positive spin on the fact that if we adhere to this, we will be stronger as a result. And we need to count our blessings in that regards. And there's just really lots of other ways that we can embrace creativity while still being at home.
Absolutely. Down kinds of downloads, coloring books. You can, delve into, there's art lessons being given online. There's virtual
Ooh.
tours of some of the most famous world museums. So, dive in a little bit, explore.
Oh, that is probably, so if there's a virtual tour of a museum, they probably have some sort of audio component to it that you might not get if you're not on a guided
Mhm.
tour of the museum. What a cool aspect that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's in everything there is an opportunity, and this is the opportunity to explore.
Yeah, as humans, we can just really be so forward thinking and coming up with solutions in the midst of all of this. And I wanted to be able to also highlight the importance of women supporting the arts, because even though things are on the back burner now as far as public gatherings, there's still things that take place on the back end that help to subsidize some of the programming that takes place in the world of arts and culture. And that is grants, and grants take time.
That's right. That's right. So, Women Supporting the Arts, for those listeners out there that don't know what that is, it is a Arts Foundation supported women's giving circle. And so all the women contribute $1,000 to be part of the women's circle. And we are always taking new members, by the way.
How convenient.
Yes, yes. And they pull together their resources and manage a grant program that gives grants to a wide variety of arts and cultural programs in Martin County. So recipients for grants this year in 2020 include the Atlanta Classical Orchestra. They are inspiring young musicians using coaching and mentoring of the musicians that are in the orchestra. Scholarships for Bach's Children's Music School, Dance Inclusion Program for Florida Arts and Dance Company. There's an exhibit at the Historical Society that will come up later in the year that is sponsored. Indiantown Middle School is getting a new kiln installed for the students of Indiantown Middle School, which is awesome. So you can see there are a wide variety
of pottery,
of things.
right?
That's for pottery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep. So they'll be able to work with clay out there now. The Library Foundation has a family sewing series, and that's being underwritten by Women Supporting the Arts. So
love that. So they're
different.
really, really thinking of art in so many different genres. That's very impressive, because I wouldn't necessarily think of sewing as an art form, yet you construct this beautiful skirt, dress, jacket, what have you, and bam.
Fashion design fits right in with the whole arts scene.
Wearable art.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt. One of the cool programs that's being sponsored too is with the Lyric Theater. So they have a Kid Ticks program, and they offer local nonprofit groups who work with children no cost tickets with a chaperone to come see some of the shows at the Lyric Theater, which is great because, I mean, can you remember the first time you went to see something live in a theater?
Most certainly.
And most people do. And so they're giving those experiences to people every day.
Oh, that is so cool. And so if our listeners are saying, I'm interested in becoming part of that giving circle, I'm interested in submitting a potential program, how do they go about getting those details?
Sure. martinartsfoundation.org. It gives you the opportunity to pay online to become one of the women in Women Supporting the Arts, or you can give me a call at the office, which is 772-288-5397, extension 4. And I can help you with that. If you're interested in writing a grant application, and the cool thing about Women Supporting the Arts is it's not just a nonprofit organization that it can apply. If an artist, an individual person, has a really cool idea that they want to implement, but they need some funds to make it go, they support individual artists too.
Very cool.
Which is very cool. The application will go live later this summer, normally around July 1st. It's like a 3-page application with a couple pages of narrative. It's pretty easy. It's I call it a good beginner grant. It's an entry-level grant application. It's not like writing to the state of Florida for funds where, the documents and the pages go on and on.
That can be massive.
Yes. This is a great, if you've never written a grant before, it's not that daunting. And I'm available to help too. I'm always happy to read people's grants before they submit them.
And give some suggestions and pointers.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure you've written a few grants in your lifetime, my darling.
I have. And I don't vote on these. So, it's all completely kosher.
Right. So if you're just tuning in, we have Nancy Terrell in the studio. We're talking about arts and culture in the wake of the COVID-19 virus. She is our executive director over at the Martin's Arts Council. And if you've never been in the building in which your offices are housed, it's so unique and special. And there always is some something to see. There's always a new exhibit, right?
We just opened a new exhibit called Collector's Choice. We opened it on March 6th, and it is 11 local people who have collections of things that they love that they've loaned us a few pieces, and we have them on exhibit. However, because we're having a full HVAC replacement in the beautiful historic building that we are in,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
temporarily unavailable.
Okay.
But we're hoping
New HVAC is not a bad thing. We support that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. However, right now it means all the things out of our closets are also in the middle of the gallery, and it would be unsafe to let people sort of wander around during this construction project.
Sure.
So we should be back up and running here by the end of next week, and I think we will be open short of more cautions or guidelines from the CDC. The galleries can handle 3 or 4 or 5, 6 people at a time and maintain a good distance from other people.
Easily, yeah.
Easily. So I
and
think
it's always meant to
safe
be
place
more of
to
an
go.
intimate
It
experience
is.
anyhow. And let's just talk a little bit about the history of that building,
Sure.
because it is so unique and in such a gorgeous location.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So for those of you who don't know, we are right on East Ocean Boulevard. It's 80 Southeast Ocean. We're snuggled in between the gazebo and the county courthouse. And it was originally the county courthouse. It was built in 1937, part of the Works Progress Administration era of construction. And it served as the county courthouse right up through the mid 1980s. So it's really not that long that people are still alive and still working for the county court system that worked in that
very well
building.
worked there.
Yes,
they come in and they're little Shirley's like, that was my office.
Exactly. So it was, let's say, late 1980s. Andres Trewani was consulting with Downtown Stewart, with the Economic Council and Stewart Main Street and a lot of those organizations, trying to figure out what to do with Downtown Stewart, because at the time, a lot of the stores were vacant. I mean, Downtown Stewart didn't look like it does today.
Sure.
It was a very different place. And with this help from Duane, well, they heard that the building was going to be torn down because they were building a new courthouse and didn't want on that campus. Well, people literally locked arms around the building. They're like, it's a beautiful beautiful example of Art Deco architecture. This building should be saved. Well, then the question was, who's going to save it and who's going to manage it? The county owns it. City of Stewart stepped in and said, we'll do an interlocal agreement with you to be the managers of it. And then they asked the Arts Council to come in and make it our home. And we've done that. We've done a whole host of renovations over the years. You'll notice on the outside looking in that there's windows on the outside that you can't see once you're inside, because we have drywall over them so that they make a great gallery space.
Yes.
We've got HVAC coming in now. We're also expecting some hurricane impact windows either later this year or sometime next year, which is another great way to keep and secure this wonderful piece of history in our community. And I really want to give a shout out and thank you to Martin County government for stepping up and making the investment in this building and working with the state of Florida Division of Historic Resources on the grants that are being matched to bring these new things to the building that'll make it have another, 100 more years of life to it. Right?
Easily.
Right?
Easily. And it's things today just aren't made the way they used to be. So it's like when you walk in, the resources that they use to build the building, those marbles and it always feels cool. It always feels inviting, like where they built it underneath the trees. There's always some shade. It's just one of those things where you can tell that this building has a heart and a soul, and that it's meant to withstand the test of time. It just has that feel about it. Every time I walk in, it just feels so grandeur without having a complete monstrosity about it. It's like just the right size, if you ask me, to show significant importance while also still being very manageable and feeling close close knit. But it always feels. I always think about that for some of the homes and the architecture pieces that I see that are a little bit older, and that's in parts throughout Florida, really. Because Florida was always hot. I mean, it's just
Always
like
hot.
the way it is. And so they built so smartly that they utilized the landscape and different substrates to help preserve, the coolness that they the best to their best of the ability at that time. And it just certainly makes a big difference as you look on to say, yes, that's definitely something worth preserving and showcasing for future generations.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the terrazzo that,
Yeah.
in the entryway of our building is one of those, materials that marble really holds the cool
It does.
and, but makes a statement.
You're
at the
right.
same
It's
time.
beautiful, but yet it shows this prestige. Okay, so in the event that things are able to transpire, we are putting on some final touches, if you will, to the 34th annual Marvin S. Cone High School Juried Art Show, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. After spring break and the 2-week hiatus from school is over, this is one of my favorite things all year long that we do. We will have in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 high school students, the best high school students from all 5 local Martin County high schools, including our private schools, come together for an exhibition. Cash awards are available to the students. They're purchase awards. One of the coolest programs is people are able, like the supervisor of elections, it is today's voting too. So if you
Yeah.
didn't go vote, do that.
You have
But
till 7 o'clock.
That's right.
Yeah.
Supervisor of elections, the superintendent of schools, each of the principals, all purchase pieces that become part of the ongoing collection of artwork that remains behind after these students graduate and move on to other things.
Brilliant.
So it's a really cool history, including the Elliott Museum. They have been purchasing pieces as well. So it'll be a great show. It'll be up sometime in May, all things being equal. We'll see what happens, but it is at the moment on our schedule for the month of May, opening May 1st.
Ideal. And, this is just a really great way of seeing the talent that's right here local. And it certainly makes you feel proud.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things we have the students do is write a artist statement about the piece they've submitted. So you really do get to see what they're thinking.
Yeah, that
which is
insight goes a long way.
It sure does.
It
It's
really
awesome.
does. Yeah. So for folks to be able to stay up to date and see what happenings are or are not taking place, or for some creative ideas of things that you recommend them look at or so forth, I would assume they can follow you on social media.
Yes, we've got the Arts Council on Facebook and the Arts Foundation as well. So we've got the 2 entities, and we're sharing as many resources as we can with our community at large and supporting our individual artists who are, part of that population that, stands to suffer greatly without being able to be hired to go do the work they do. So keep the spirit going.
That's so well said. Nancy Terrell, Martin Arts Council Executive Director, thank you for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, happy St. Patty's Day, and a special thank you once more to White Glove Moving, Storage, and Delivery for your ongoing support of the program. I'm Anna Valencia Tillery. Until next week, cheers.